Questo video vuole condividere il messaggio di fede e l'esempio vero, che ogni cristiano è chiamato a fornire nella propria vita. Ogni persona che sceglie di seguire Gesù Cristo. Scegliere l'amore al posto dell'odio. Perdonare al posto di ricambiare l'offesa con altre offese. Perdonare come Dio ha fatto e continua a fare con noi. Accettare la nostra natura di peccatori e ricercare sempre e affidarci a Gesù Cristo, nostro Salvatore, che ha dato la vita per noi. Quello che è successo a Charlie Kirk e alla sua famiglia ha scosso tutto il mondo, ha scosso tutti noi e ci uniamo in preghiera alla sua famiglia e ai suoi cari, perché la testimonianza di fede che aveva cominciato non può fermarsi e deve continuare per il tramite di ognuno di noi. Che Dio ci dia la forza e ci sostenga.
On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Si riportano alcuni degli speech che maggiormente hanno esposto i valori in cui si riconosceva e per i quali si era battuto.
So why do you care so much about other individuals living their lives? Why is it affecting you? Do you have something up your ass or something?
Well, I could throw that right back at you. Why do you care so much about what I have to say?
Because you're affecting other people's rights. You're taking away people's choices. You are hurting people. Read the Constitution.
What rights am I taking away exactly?
You're trying to take away gender-affirming care for individuals. You are affecting abortion rights. You are hurting people.
Got it. So what is a woman?
What is a woman? It's what people identify as. It's a gender. Sex is different. Sex is different from gender.
So, can anyone be a woman?
Yes.
At what point do you know you're looking at a woman?
Doesn't matter when you are looking at a woman. You don't have to look at a woman and immediately tell. Can you tell looking at a baby what gender they are without looking at their privates? Tell me that.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What about that baby is different?
But hold on. By the time they're 6 months old, you could actually tell a young boy tends to gravitate more towards balls and remotes.
That's because it's gender affirming. That is convincing individuals at a young age. You are socializing, putting them in situations where they want certain different things. Let's look at... So, let's say you were a little kid and your parents taught you to like pink. Let's actually look back in time. Pink actually used to be a male color instead of blue. In what world? Actually, in the 1920s.
So you say that I'm here to take people's rights away.
Yes.
That is your main contention.
Yes, because
Right.
you are affecting the LGBT. You are affecting women's rights. If I was pregnant, oh wait, let's go back to this. Abortion is anything. If I had a cyst on my uterus, that would be considered an abortion. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Look at
That-
okay, anything that is evolving the uterus.
Well, no. In order for it to be an abortion, it must be a human life.
No. Anything that is
Yes.
evolving the uterus and you have to get rid of it, it is considered abortion.
No, that's
Yes,
not how
it is.
that's not how it works. So again, you say I'm here to take rights away.
Yes.
Do you agree life is a right?
I feel like if it's a clump of cells, then it's not alive.
No, but let's go back. Do you think every human being has a right to life?
Depending on how many weeks, but let's
hold on. Who's trying to take rights away? I want to protect the rights of all human beings. You call them a clump of cells. Who's trying to take rights away exactly?
So when is it a human being in your mind? When is it a human being in your mind?
Well, it's not even on my mind. Human development objectively begins at conception.
At conception.
Be considered. However, it's not always necessary. But let's talk about the main thing, because there's over 1.5 million abortions every single year that don't involve rape, incest, or life of the mother.
Yeah,
1.5 million.
Yes,
but let's just ask you a very simple question. When does human life begin?
When does human life, in my personal opinion, is going to start around the second trimester, a little more farther along. But let's get to this. Most individuals that are having abortions are going to be mothers that cannot afford it. They usually have already 2 to 3 kids and a lot of time.
So it's acceptable to be able to murder your young if all of a sudden you don't have the money to support them. That you can murder your offspring if you're poor.
So in the first couple weeks, even though it's still not fully developed, doesn't even have a heartbeat, doesn't even have brain
development
activity.
Does not equal dignity. A human being is a human being regardless of the process of development that it is in. Period. And so who's trying to take rights away? I actually want more human beings to be born.
Then why are you affecting LGBT?
Well, hold on. We're talking. Let me finish on abortion. I want more human lives, which, by the way, hilariously, would be more women would be born, because the right to life is paramount. Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Define what is murder.
What is murder? Are you going to be talking about first-degree murder, like homicide, like going and having the intent to kill? Having the intent to kill somebody, but I'm just saying a clump of cells
right?
Yeah, but a clump of cells is different.
Hold on, time out. If it's a clump of cells, what species is it?
What species is it?
Yes. What species?
It depends. Whatever's going to be pregnant, whatever you're trying to abort.
Is it a Homo sapien, a crocodile, or a raccoon? Which one is it? What species is it? Oh, wait, so if it's a human clump of cells, then it's a human life deserving of human rights. And the first right is life. And so you could call it a clump of cells, which is dehumanizing language, but I'll go back to this. Ironically, you're the one that is actually intruding on human rights. We're the one protecting human rights.
But you're trying to get rid of the options so people can have rights to their own body. If someone does not want to have a child, they should not be forced to. Oh, wait. If we're going to be doing this, then what are you going to do about the children in the systems that have been being assaulted, that are being hurted? Put more money into the system so people can actually get adopted, or actually other things like that.
Okay. Again, none of that is relevant.
No, because you want more babies to be born. What about people that can't afford them? They have to go into systems.
How many people are on the adoption waiting list?
Yeah, well, I know how many kids actually get adopted, how many kids that go into systems or are being fostered, that get assaulted, that get hurt. Are you going to be helping those children that get f***ed over by this system?
So there are 2 million people on the adoption waiting list. There are 1 million abortions every year. There are twice as many people that want to adopt than discarded children every single year. Now, I have to go back to a fundamental question, though, which I think is very important. Human development objectively begins at conception. You say it's around 2 trimesters. Can we agree that every human being, once your DNA is formed, you should have the right to life, the right to live the life the way you want to live it? Can we agree on that?
How many weeks are we saying?
No, I say, again, once we can acknowledge.
So, like, once the sperm is inside the egg?
Correct, yeah.
No. Once the sperm is inside the egg in the first, couple of days? No.
Well, okay, but let's go through that. Isn't that when your DNA was formed?
Yeah.
But then aren't you fundamentally at its core, you are, the DNA is your blueprint for your life. That's who you are. It's a unique marker.
It's my DNA, yeah.
Yes. So if it's not your DNA, why is it your choice?
Why is it my choice?
Yes. If it's not your DNA, why do you have a choice to eliminate it?
It's up to the individual that is having them inside of it.
Oh, okay.
It's their body. I don't care if it is like a few weeks, because that is not a human being's life yet. Because
outside of rape,
that individual cannot survive without the mother or who is ever pregnant. Therefore.
Again, so let's get down to this, because I think it's very important and a good way to end this question, which is outside of rape, How did the woman get pregnant?
Outside of rape, so we're not going to be talking about incest or other individuals like that, because incest is not only just rape or other situations.
How about if I say?
Let's talk about how eggs that get mixed up in clinics.
How about if I say I'm okay with abortion for rape, incest, and life of the mother? Let's make it illegal in the other circumstances. Would you agree?
How are we going to be able to term that all the time, though? Because what if it wasn't consensual? What if the individual was drunk, but they're married? Let's say they're married and they got raped.
You can get a rape. Again, you keep on interrupting me, but you can report rape as a crime. You can also do a blood test to find out if it's incest. But 99.9% of all abortions are not rape and not incest and not life of the mother. How did that woman get pregnant in those situations? Did she just walk through campus and it just appeared and all of a sudden a baby is in her uterus? Or did she do something to decide to potentially have a child?
Sex. But also contraceptives sometimes don't always work.
Got it. So, but hold on a second. Shouldn't you take responsibility for your orgasms?
I don't think most men can make me come. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, again, outside of that statement, I'm not even sure how to take that, to be honest.
You brought up orgasms.
Okay. Shouldn't you take responsibility for the sex that you have?
I mean, if I was wanting to have a child and my contraceptives, I didn't use any contraceptives, and I wanted to get pregnant, sure, I'm taking responsibility for that life because I wanted that life. But let's say I was having sex and my contraceptives didn't work and I got the chance of getting pregnant. I am not having that child.
But you still decided to have sex.
Yeah.
And again, our opinion, when you go and decide, having sex is not something you need to survive. It's not like showering or eating or shelter. You can live without having sex. You can have a little bit of self-control. If you decide to go have sex, you should understand you play certain games, you win certain prizes, which might be another human life. And it is the most...
I don't want to f*** up another child, though.
Hold on a second. Then don't go have sex.
No.
Oh, so you understand how narcissistic that is, that I want to keep on having fun, and if I have a human being and oopsie daisy, I'm going to eliminate that other human being because I don't want to have the human being, but I want to keep on having free sex. How is that not the most narcissistic worldview that one can possibly espouse?
Is narcissistic that I want to have sex with another consenting individual just because I don't want to have children? I feel like a lot of people in the world have sex. I think a lot of people make money off of having sex, and they don't want to have children. I feel like it is something that everybody do. A lot of people have sex just for pleasure.
Just because a lot of people do it does not make it right, number one. Number two, again, fundamentally, your view is I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and if it creates another human being, so be it. Sure.
Do you have sex just to have a baby every single time then? Or are you doing it for pleasure?
I am married and we have 2 kids. Yeah,
so
we're pretty good at it.
I'm assuming that you have had sex more than twice in your life,
again,
not just to have the babies.
I'm not going to give you an inside look into my sex life, but
you're doing it for pleasure, not just to have kids.
Well, again, we actually always do it with God's trust that if we get kids, it's a blessing, okay? And we do it in the marital context of an agreement. Can we agree?
No.
Oh. Can we agree on? I will pray for you this Holy Week. Thank you for your time.
Please don't ever pray for me.
In questi video abbiamo visto la difesa del diritto alla vita, diritto che spetterebbe ad ogni essere vivente, diritto che Dio, nostro Padre che è nei cieli, ha dato ad ogni creatura vivente e noi esseri umani siamo chiamati a difenderlo. La testimonianza che ogni cristiano, ossia ogni persona che decide di abbandonare la propria vita per seguire quella di Gesù Cristo, è chiamato a dare. Un vero follower di Gesù Cristo, termine utilizzato oggi, un discepolo, vista la sua fede e testimonianza di vita per diffondere la parola di Dio.
Your faith is the most important thing. Because for those of us that are Christians, it doesn't drive you crazy. You actually see what's going on, which is that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and darkness and spirits, that there's a spiritual war here. And you're right, Tucker. I find people in this space that are not anchored to faith, anchored to Jesus, they do lose their mind. Because there is no rational or reasonable explanation for what the country is doing to itself or what we are experiencing. But if you then see and you know that there is a God and we are not him, that there is an entire dimension of angels and demons and spirits that are constantly struggling around us, and that there is a supernatural dimension, as you mentioned, all of a sudden, that does then make sense.
We're just here temporarily in the Christian view. There's an afterlife for us. There's the next life. Our bodies will actually resurrect. Christ our Lord will come back and reign over this earth in the 1,000-year millennia. So we shouldn't be overly fixated.
But until that happens, they're rotting. We're all rotting.
By the way, it's
so
like...
just like deal with it, accept it.
Yes, exactly. You have an expiration date.
Yes!
And God is in charge of that. So what do you do with that?
Amen.
And so if you look at the biblical figures, they weren't like overly interested in mastering the back nine, at the Naples Country Club.
No.
It was, God wants us in 4 words, love God, love people.
For those of us that know the truth, we know that our God is a God of order and distinction. What is the first thing that God did? In the Hebrew scriptures, it says, and also our scripture, in the original Genesis, Bereshit, which is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then he separated and he made sense. He made order out of chaos. Our God is a God of order, and order only comes with distinctions, and distinctions are necessary. Think about all the distinctions that God set up in the first 6 books of Genesis that are currently under attack. The distinction between male and female. The distinction between man and nature. The distinction between the holy and the profane. The distinction between good and evil. The distinction between infant and adult. These distinctions have always been what Western civilization were built upon, but it is Satan's goal to blur and eventually destroy those distinctions, because those distinctions of which we get order, and if you do not have that order, then you have the closest thing to satanic chaos here in our country.
Man! People can't see the future, period, because they're not God. They can only sort of muddle along in the half darkness and do their best. And so as soon as you have leaders who imagine that there's a really clear line between today and 3 years from now, and they can see what it is, like, you're going to wind up in disaster. The Ukraine war. Again, we're surrounded by examples of this. And so really what you need in a leader is good intent.
And humility.
And humility. Those are the 2 things. Yeah. You want someone who, imperfect as he may be, will make a good faith effort to uplift his people, A, and B, you need someone who understands his limits in doing that. Like, I'm going to try.
His place, too.
Yeah.
That there's a God, I'm not him. There's something
100%.
sovereign above me.
And you're not allowed to kill people except in self-defense. Let me repeat, you are not allowed to kill people except in self-defense. And if you do, you are evil.
What about really spreading democracy?
It's really, it comes in all these various justifications throughout time, but just to restate, you are not allowed to kill people except in self-defense. That's the most basic rule of them all. And if you find yourself doing that, you are evil or abetting evil on the side of evil. And if you lose that clarity, and like, people make mistakes all the time, and what you think is self-defense is actually an act of aggression or whatever. I mean, these are complicated scenarios as they occur, right? And you do your best to make the right decision. But if you don't go into it with the knowledge that as a human being, you are not in charge of life, you did not create it, and you are not allowed to take it except to preserve your own life or those of the people you love or the people you're in charge of. If you don't know that and say it and repeat it to yourself every single day, you will wind up murdering millions and millions of people.
I really believe that there's such a hatred for Christianity that any part of the population that is like remotely Christian, they inherently hate you, because the real goal is to eliminate Christianity. Do you notice that they never are like enthusiastic about bringing in major parts of the population of Eastern Europe that are super Christian? Yet they're like, let's go bring in the witchcraft country. Kind of weird. Like, more witchcraft, less Christianity. I don't understand how that works out. But the contempt is very simple, is that they think that they are so much better than you. It is an elitist hierarchical position, and that you're an annoyance. That your concerns, that what you're doing is just kind of stay out of the way. And I know people disagree with me. I think this is behind the push for legalizing marijuana. I think this is the push for trying to overly medicate the society, is they do not want a disagreeable citizenry. This is why they want testosterone rates to go down. This is why they wanted to kick the military men out of the alpha men out of the military with the vaccine, is because a population that asks questions and stands up to the powerful is a threat to them. So they'd much rather have you be subdued, just watch TV, not care about what's happening, and just kind of stay on your benzodiazepines or Valium or marijuana and 3 beers a night, and then you're agreeable. But what has always made America different as a beacon of liberty is that we would call BS on tyranny whenever we see it. And that is what is at the heart of this movement. And they look at you as an annoyance. Do people want to be free? And that is a very difficult question to answer. In the book of Exodus and Numbers, the answer is no. Is that if you fail to teach a generation the value of liberty, they actually instinctively don't want to be free. When God delivered his chosen people out of Egypt and he performed the most amazing miracles imaginable, you know, the Nile River goes red and frogs from the sky and the firstborn dead and the Red Sea parts, and they go into the Sinai desert. After a couple chapters, they're like, hey, we want to go back to Egypt. We want to go back to slavery. Why? Because the food was better. Literally, we had melons, leeks, cucumbers, and meat. And they say, hey, Moses, can we go back to Egypt? Now, mind you, this is when God blew quail off course and manna from heaven, and they need and wanted for nothing. But they preferred to be slaves that were taken care of than free citizens in the desert where they had to be responsible. And that is a very important lesson for all of us, that liberty is a value that we must pass on, that we must cherish. And part of the population will never wake up because they would rather be in Egypt. And what is in front of us in this election cycle, and what is in front of us in this culture right now, is do you want to live as a free citizen? And that might be hard. That means you have to provide for your family. You might have to make tough decisions. Or do you want to just go be a Russian serf back in Egypt, where they give you your little ration every month, and you have no liberty and you have no freedom? That is really what's in front of us right now. And I think we're seeing a revival begin to happen, because it really is spiritual at its core, where the American people are going to demand, no, we do not want to go back to Egypt. We want to live free. We know it's harder, but that is the American way.
So you really feel that? I mean, I think it's important. I feel that too, but I'm not quite as articulate and on this question as you are, and I don't travel as much. But you see signs of that?
Oh my goodness, yes. I just want to say, I'm not predicting that Donald Trump will win in November. If we had an election, by the way, where we didn't have mail-in ballots all over the place and signature verification, I think Donald Trump would easily win in November, for the record, but we don't. Tucker, when we go to college campuses, I was at Kansas State today, by the way. I will tell you, they didn't treat us very well, so you guys got to call them up and say, they were worse than Boulder and Madison, by the way. I'm not here to talk about that, but very, very...
Is that true?
Very liberal administration. We had an outdoor event.
In the state of Kansas?
Yeah, we had 2,000 kids there, and we had a permit for amplification, and it ended at 1, and usually campuses let us go over 1. Okay, you have 2,000 kids, not a big deal. I was literally in Boulder this week. Administration was like, it's fine. You guys are having a good time. You know, we're not... I was in Madison, it's fine. In Manhattan, Kansas, the minute that we hit the end of our permit, they started like pulling out plugs. You got to turn off all the mics. Never seen anything like this. Insane. So for those of you that are alum of Kansas State, you should contact them and stop giving money to Kansas State. Pull your donations from Kansas State. Okay, so, no, I'm not kidding. Do not fund schools that treat conservatives this way. And by the way, you could say, why is it that CU Boulder, which is like Leningrad, treated Charlie Kirk better than Kansas State? Great talking point. But when we do these events, Tucker, on campus, we cannot find rooms big enough to fit all the students that want to attend our on-campus events. We cannot find physical spaces to fit all the students that want to come to our events. Gen Z men are the most conservative that men have been in 50 years. 50 years. And I also see young and old of people that are starting to shed their prior affiliations. Republican, Democrat mean nothing. And they're starting to get down to first principles. And I mean, we do every day. Anyone watch the Charlie Kirk show, by the way? Anyone? Thank you guys, really means a lot. And I have to stay ahead of the audience. how informed the average listener and viewer is? Have you noticed this, Tucker? The depth.
I don't solicit feedback. I don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, but they are actively correcting me. If I get a date wrong, if I get a name wrong, emailing, Charlie, you should know better than that. You got, and I love that because that means that the learning is a two-way street, and that I really believe, and I learned this from Dr. Larry Arnn from Hillsdale College. He said, Charlie, we will not save the country. By the way, Hillsdale is America's greatest college. Amen. Can we all agree? It really is. He said, we will not save the country until we get the citizenry to want to prioritize learning, because you cannot have liberty without learning. And I don't mean liberty like public school learning. I mean, hey, instead of watching the 9th NFL football game that weekend, turn it off and listen to an audiobook. Read the Gulag Archipelago. Read 1984. Read Brave New World. Go deeper. The regime hates an informed population. They hate that you guys know what's going on. They despise when you know history.
Is it Ecclesiastes? I think it is.
By Solomon? By what?
Ecclesiastes, the book.
Yes, correct, yeah.
You know, sort of like
one of the two books written by Solomon.
Yeah. Like, what is all this?
Well, the first line was, "This is all meaningless."
Exactly.
Meaningless God,
That's exactly right. Ooh, what a depressing book.
No, it literally opens up like it's like a suicidal 17-year-old
totally
goth.
is.
Like meaningless. All that is meaningless. It's Ecclesiastes 1, and you're like, what is this?
You've probably read it like 10 times and understand its
It actually
deeper
gets
meaning.
better because he says with God there actually is meaning.
No, that's right. And I've read it precisely one time
and
sitting
in the context,
alone.
Solomon had all the women he wanted, all the trappings, all the splendor, and he's like, it's all meaningless.
But that is kind of that is the one thing that not that I have all the women and all the money or whatever, but like you do reach an age in life where you're like, okay, you know, I've achieved all my dumb little goals that I set out for myself, and they're all very small bore because they always are. And like, okay, like what is that? Was that worth it? Was the prize worth winning? Did that bring me, you know, joy and fulfillment and like knowledge of, you know, eternal life? No. And so I do think that is very common. That's almost universal among middle-aged men who run, by and large, the U.S. government. And so it's a very natural temptation to be like, you know, what can I achieve?
I try to read the Bible every day. I can't stand reading a digital Bible unless I absolutely have to. I like reading from a physical Bible. No distractions, no pings, no dings, no phone calls, no tweets, no telegrams. And yeah, that's the other thing, which is if we want to get back to first principles and you want hope, we must put God first in everything that we do and understand that we are nothing here but just for a short instant, a short little glimpse, and we act not out of outcome, but we act out of obedience. What I am doing right now to try to help Trump win and try to do all these things, I have no idea if we'll be successful. So why do you do it, Charlie? It could be rigged, it could be all this. Happy to go into that. I do it because I love God, and we're called by Jesus to love him in everything that we do with our heart and our soul and our strength and our mind. And God cares deeply about the type of society that we live in, and is not God's heart anywhere for us to live in tyranny. Jeremiah 29:7, demand the welfare of the nation that you are in because your welfare is tied to your nation's welfare. Psalm 97:10, let those of you who love God hate evil. We are called to go into the public square and to contest for those who cannot fight for themselves, to fight for liberty. And liberty is God's idea, not man's idea. And what we are seeing culminate, I think, is a crescendo of a multi-decade spiritual battle, which is now currently manifested in the political. And we do it not because, you know, we hope Trump is going to win. We do it to honor a God that loves us.
Why are so many young people going back to church? Let's talk about something promising. It is happening. It's happening in record numbers.
Because God is moving. That's why. I mean, if you'd asked me that 3 years ago, I would have said it's because the promise of the modern West, the post-war West, God died when we dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima, obviously, because we assumed godlike powers. We have the power of life and death over the planet, over humanity itself. And so that was literally the moment when the West stopped believing in God and things began to fall apart. I'm not defending Imperial Japan, it's just a fact. Rather, that's my interpretation of the facts. But anyway, this has been happening for a long time, and the prizes that we award to the winners in our society are mostly not worth having. It's just material wealth, which is not the source of happiness, as anyone who's ever gotten rich, including me. I've been rich and poor. You know, it's better than being in debt, which is bad, but it doesn't make you happy. Of course not.
Not being in crisis makes you happy.
Of course, that's right. Not being
big.
in debt, not having a mortgage, that's all good.
That's important.
But like, how much French toast can you eat? Like, seriously. You know, how many hours can you sit in bed? You know, it's like not that exciting, actually. So I would have told you 3 years ago, if you said, why are people returning to church? Why is Christianity resurgent? I would say because they found Western materialism fundamentally unsatisfying and they're looking for something more. I'd no longer think that. I think what you're seeing is a supernatural phenomenon. I think you're seeing the Spirit of God moving among people. I can't believe I'm saying this.
You're an Episcopalian?
I know, I was.
What is wrong with you?
I left when it became Wiccan, but that's how I was raised.
You're talking like a Pentecostal.
No, I don't know what I am, but I try to describe things as honestly as I can. Clearly, we've seen evil move among us.
Correct.
We see it all the time, all the time. It's not rational. It's not political. No one's getting rich from it. The point is destruction. That's the point. Why would you give fentanyl to addicts? Why would you invite 500,000 Haitians here with no
COVID
jobs?
shot.
It's the COVID shot. It's only to destroy. So we all know that. That's evil. That's what evil looks like. But evil has a counterbalance, which is actually more powerful, and it's called good. It's the Spirit of God. And you are seeing that, and I am seeing it all the time, and it's what keeps me from being despondent. And I see it, as you see everything, through other people. And I've lived in a secular world my whole life, and certainly in the news business for 35 years, I've only known secular people. There are no religious people in the news business, none. Maybe in the editing room or something, but they don't talk. And I now know people personally really well who are like, yeah, I was like praying the other day, or was reading the Bible, or I think I believe in Jesus. What? Use the J word? And I'm seeing that everywhere. And so that leads me to believe this is not organic, this is supernatural. People don't say that, they're not moved to that, except by God's power moving them. You don't have eyes to see or ears to hear unless God gives them to you. So I think that.
So how has God been at work in your life?
I don't know. I'm so focused on my inherent shittiness that it's sometimes hard to see it.
That's why you're a good Christian.
I don't know.
No, the first rule of Christianity is understand you are...
Well, I definitely marinated in that.
Totally depraved.
Oh, I'm definitely aware of that.
Total depravity is the beginning.
You
know you need Jesus if you stay in total depravity.
I always tell the kids who work for me, the one person I don't trust is me, because I know him so well. No, I think I'm just so aware of it. I mean, I think one of the ways that people change when they start thinking about God is your timeline gets longer, and you realize that this is just a snapshot in eternity, and it's not the end, and it wasn't the beginning when you were born. Like, this is a lot bigger. You start thinking about what happens after you die. It's not the end. And you start seeing the world in those terms. Death is not the worst thing. You know, you can live in hell on earth by being trapped by lies. And that's a choice that all of us make every day. Am I going to participate in the lie or not? And it's not that hard to say, no, I'm not. And it's incredibly, I hate the word, but it's true, empowering to decide that to the extent I remember, I'm not going to lie. And we're all so prone to lying, me included. Like, they just like come out, lies all the time. Lying, more lying. You know, we're just like that way. But if you try, be like, no, I'm going to tell the truth. In the small things and the big things. No, I think the fish was only 13 inches. It was not a 19-inch trout. I'm just going to be honest. I think it was 13 inches. I'm a trout fisherman. If you just get in the habit of doing that, you find yourself filled with this crazy power from outside you, which is by definition supernatural power, and you become stronger. The more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. I really believe that. I've experienced that. The spoken truth. The spoken truth.
That's the logos.
In the beginning was what?
The logos. The word. Which is the word logos.
Yeah.
Which is the spoken
And the
truth.
word was?
And the word was flesh.
Yeah.
And the word was God, and God became flesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is inherently spiritual. You think there's a spiritual dynamic to all of this. And can you talk just briefly, I know we're running out of time, how your spiritual journey has deepened in the last couple of years? I know you've been reading the Bible even more. As an Episcopalian, that seems to be quite an accomplishment.
Reading the Bible even more. Well, I didn't read the Bible at all before. So.
I'm being generous.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had much of a spiritual journey. I'm such a flawed person that I don't even want to be associated with Christianity because I don't want to discredit it. But I mean that.
That means you're a true Christian.
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to be called that. But I'm very superstitious on that point. No, I'm a really flawed person, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think I will say this. There is a Christian revival underway in the United States, a low-key Christian revival. I see it all around me. It's not the kind of tent revival that you imagine from, 1923. It's something else. It's a different manifestation of the same thing. Yes. And I see it everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean in the conversations that I have with people I'm talking to, where people who've lived totally secular lives, as I've lived a very secular life, are all of a sudden referring to God or some power beyond themselves in a way that would have been really striking 5 years ago. No one I knew, I mean, you're from a different world, a world that's much more in touch with the spiritual, with the transcendent, but I'm not. I mean, I'm from a world that's in touch with like what is happening today. That's it. I've never heard people talk like that, ever. And now practically everyone I know is talking like that. What is that? And that's a sign to me that, yes, the spiritual realm is like obvious to people who had never thought about it before.
What I'm seeing is that people are asking the question, why are they doing this? And the spiritual is the only explanation.
Of course.
Because it defies reason. What did God say? He said, it's not good for man to be alone.
Exactly.
But he wasn't alone. He had God. What he was saying is that it's not good for man to be without a woman.
Well, of course.
So it's not enough for man just to have God. And some people don't like this teaching, but it's true. Adam had God. He had a relationship with God. Man, if you look at almost every third world country where men don't feel that they are able to have economic prosperity or any romantic future, you get either revolution, gang violence, or complete disconnect.
Or suicide.
Or suicide, which is what we have, right? So it's the most suicidal generation in history. Now, I don't want to paint like a totally negative picture, because there is one really good trend, and it's not because of baby boomers, and it's not because of our leaders. It's that
I guess that.
Well, no, it's young men are going back to church. That is legit. That's happening because honestly, it's the only thing that they can find. It's a life raft in this just tsunami of chaos and disorder. So I get asked all the time, well, why are they going to the Catholic Church? Why are they going to Orthodox Church more than the evangelical church? And I'm evangelical. I'll say, well, first of all, they want something that has lasted. They want something that is ancient and that is beautiful, something that has stood the test of time, something that's not going to change, something that's all of a sudden not going to all of a sudden just flip around and have some sort of, transgender story hour. So that's a really positive trend in the midst of all this. So that's my great hope, is the spiritual hope, that the young men that are lost, and if any young man is listening to this right now, like stop watching porn, stop, smoking weed, stop drinking endlessly. Find yourself back to church. That will reorient your life.
I agree.
And do what the church tells you to do, right? Find a woman, marry her, provide, have more kids than you can afford. That's my advice for young men.
Yes.
Don't play the victim, even though you legitimately can play the victim card on everything we've said.
I agree.
The mindset of a victim is parasitic to your soul.
Are you hopeful? Of course I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, and first, of course, in Jesus Christ, because for those that know Christ, we know how this story ends, and we know that there's a creator and there's a divine perfecter to all of this. Everybody, it's more than just getting a reverse mortgage on your home. It's more than buying Relief Factor. It's about getting into the arena. And what does that mean? It means if you are actively not being criticized, canceled, smeared, or slandered, you are a spectator, not a participant. We will save this country when all of us are participants in this fight. That means that you guys can sign up and take vacation time and come to Arizona to go chase ballots for Donald Trump. We will put you to work. This means you guys can write letters to swing voters in key states, pleading for them to make the right decision. This means educating your kids, homeschooling your kids, and taking them out of government schools. This means that you're gonna feed your kids and grandkids healthy food and not that highly processed garbage that is currently being put down by the big ag companies. This means you're gonna learn every single week and prioritize it. This means you are going to be an active citizen, and as we said it earlier, an active, informed, thoughtful, deep, and faithful citizen is the greatest threat to a tyrannical regime, and in that, Tucker, I have hope.
Amen! Charlie Kirk, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Questo video è stato realizzato per diffondere i messaggi di fede e speranza che Charlie Kirk forniva già da tempo. Ci stringiamo alla sua famiglia in preghiera, con la sicurezza che sia ritornato in paradiso dal nostro Creatore, il Padre che è nei cieli e che ha mandato il suo Figlio unigenito Gesù Cristo per salvarci dalla nostra natura di peccatori, convertirci finché siamo in vita alla sua volontà e legge per ambire, forse un giorno, alla vita eterna insieme a Lui.